Right?
Yes.
Good.
Great.
Live.
And we are live. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome, Midwest Elevation. We will give the Facebook bots a moment to give everybody their
Happy Tuesday,
and turn
everybody.
this off so
Welcome
we're not hearing ourselves on repeat. Thanks to the Facebook bots. There we go. We are live. I'm going to be looking at my phone just to man the comments here. No, I'm not texting my best friends. So, Midwest Elevation, welcome back. We are here with another Tuesday conversation to raise the collective consciousness. And I'm so excited to bring you another installment. I do want to make a couple of announcements before I tell you about our beautiful guest today. It is Tuesday, right? And we've been doing this on Tuesdays for over a year now. And there's going to be some shifts. And one of the big shifts is starting in August, our conversations are moving to Mondays. We will have Monday conversations instead of Tuesday conversations. So keep an eye out for the details on that. That will start in August. Our conversations will move to Mondays, same time, 4:30 Central, 2:30 Pacific, and then any other time zones, of course. If you need help doing the math like I do, just look at your world clock on your phone. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. All right. I think that's the only announcement I had. It's great. So let me introduce you to my beautiful guest today, Lakshmi Sirois. She has guided hundreds of people for over 30 years, almost 40, to overcome their emotional, mental, and physical challenges by befriending their emotions, finding their way of expressing their feelings, and releasing their pain, being more present,
Yes.
learning to thrive. As a dance and movement therapist, licensed mental health counselor, and a certified Kundalini yoga instructor, she has developed these embodied creative and spiritual skills to heal her own and others' trauma and anxiety. Right? We create the gifts we need and give. Lakshmi's mission is to empower as many women as possible to release their anxiety, awaken their bliss, to realize they are blissful, and to thrive in all aspects of their lives. Welcome, Lakshmi. We are so happy to have you here today.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. And yes.
Yeah, you have such a beautiful and varied, like all these modalities there, right? You have the movement, you have the yoga, there's the energy work, and I just love how you have come to this point, right, where you can put it all together and offer something that is so, of course, near and dear to my heart as a spiritual woman who is often anxious. But right, the collective anxiety, especially that we've all been going through over this last year. So tell me a little bit about how this all came to be for you.
Well, that is how it all came to be, really, right? Yes, working in this field, I've accumulated various skills and techniques, and throughout my life, even when I was a teenager, I found whatever I did and loved, I wanted to teach, I wanted to share. I was sailing counselor, I was a ski instructor. So anyways, now, I learn things and I immediately share them with my clients, because what I find works for me often works for everyone else. So, but I test drive things first.
I love it.
And then, yeah, share them. So, and then during this past, 16 months or so, that we've dealt with this pandemic, I found that more and more people were coming to me with anxiety, and so my mission is to really help as many women, many people as possible to thrive, and yeah, sort of the spiritual aspect of myself and my practice, right, is to help people find their bliss, right? It's there's the saying, follow your bliss, Joseph Campbell, but It's really about realizing that we all are blissful at our true essence, and how to find that with a breath, how to find that with whatever you use, but to take that time to remember, really, and to remember being really to embody our bliss.
I'm so curious about the word bliss too. And we talk about awakening your bliss. And you like you just said, this is our innate, it's in us, we're born with it. I guess my question is like, how would you define that bliss? Because there are so many, there's lots of baggage that can come with any word really, but how would you, let's just start there. How would you define bliss and what that feeling is?
Well, so that's interesting, because bliss, I sort of, in some ways it is a feeling, and in other ways, so there's certain words that I capitalize when I write them, and bliss is one of them usually.
That's funny. So I do the same thing. Truth with a capital T, right?
Right, truth with a capital T, or self with a capital S. So Carl Jung capitalized self to mean the self as that really is that collective consciousness, is our unified consciousness is the self, which includes everything. So in that universe, or maybe includes multiverses, if you believe that, right? Is that state of oneness, and in that state of oneness is bliss, is love, is peace, is truth, right? And so it doesn't have polarities. So bliss has no polarity. For me, my definition of bliss. So happiness sort of has the opposite of sadness, right? But bliss is just bliss. Right? So we talk about, we mentioned our yin yang screens here, right? With the black and the white, and little white in your door, and the black little black banners behind me. So the yin yang is that symbol of wholeness, which includes the polarities, which is really a symbol of the self also. So the self is a symbol, any mandala really can be a symbol of the self, but which represents wholeness. So bliss is part of that. Bliss is whole, right?
Wow. Yeah. Yes. I'm seeing this. I love that. Bliss is whole. So there isn't that polarity, right? It's not, I love that. I need to close out this. I'm hearing noises from my Facebook. I apologize. Okay, close. But I've never actually heard it put that way, that bliss doesn't have like the duality or the opposite. And suddenly that makes so much sense.
Well, I don't know if I've ever said that before either. That's why I love these conversations, right? Because it does, bring out these words of wisdom, I guess. Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Exactly. Well, and how curious it is too that when you think about being on a spiritual path, or embodying spiritual ways of life and whatnot, and you think about anxiety, like I know for me that has almost felt like polar opposites.
Yeah.
And so maybe talk on that a little bit, about navigating
What a great question, right? So this is, so right. So here I'm, my Facebook group is Spiritual Women Thriving, and I'm offering, 5 natural solutions to relieve anxiety and find your bliss. So, why put them together, right? Is that a contradiction? No. So, so that's why, another reason why I differentiate like bliss from an emotion, right? So like I can be meditating, have been meditating, and I can have tears running down my face. Like when my grandmother died, right? I mean, I was really close to her, and I think I went to my husband's yoga class. He also teaches yoga, and just tears were just flowing down my cheeks, like streaming down my cheeks. And yet I was chanting, or I was, meditating in that blissful state. So I was knowing I was blissful, and I was witnessing my bliss. I mean, I was witnessing my bliss, but I was witnessing my tears and grief. The loss of my grandmother. So they can happen, and it does happen simultaneously, right? So self is always present, right? So the Bhagavad Gita says the self cannot be wet by water, dried by air, or burnt by fire. And my meditation teacher added, nor can it be like affected by words or something like that. So the self is constantly blissful, and our emotions always are up and down. Right? So when we remember the bliss that we always are, those emotions, I find, get a little less intense. I mean, joy, I think, can get, well, I'm going to contradict myself. Right, let me start over again. We can ride that roller coaster with the ups and downs, because really the joy can get very intense, and the pain can be very intense too. Like,
absolutely.
But we can remember that we are blissful and return to really our identity with ourself, with our bliss, with the love who we are. And then it makes the intensity smaller wavelengths.
Well, and I love that image that you use, right? And this is why we say, like, coming back to center, right? So we're not all the way up here and all that, we're not doing this all the time. And being more centered, being more present allows, just as you said, right, the peaks and valleys to be, closer to center, closer to that blissful state of being of, or, the truth of who we are.
Right.
And it doesn't knock you down.
Right. Well, so being centered, right, as a dance movement therapist, being centered means being embodied, being in your body, right? So being centered for me is really synonymous to being grounded. So when I'm centered, I'm grounded, right? I know where my feet are, the feet are on the ground. I can breathe into my belly. I can feel, I'm aware and mindful of the sensations in my body. And that's how I get centered, right? That's how, because the mind is full of polarities. Our ego is where the polarities exist, and the self is where the wholeness is. So it's about getting out of your mind into your body, into your heart and your soul, into your gut, to remember that we are whole, that we are one, that we are blissful.
I love that.
And centered, right? So
And centered, yes. Beautiful. So
right,
I want to
the
come back.
mandala too, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
it comes back to the mandala, the circle. So, the circle has that at the point in the middle. Anyways.
Yes.
Has the center of the circle.
Love it. But I want to come back to what you were saying about what you have coming up. You said 5 natural solutions to relieve anxiety and awaken bliss. So this is something that you are offering when?
July 26th, Monday, July 26th through Friday, July 30th, 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern time.
Okay.
And it's in my Facebook group, Spiritual Women Thriving.
Right. And I will definitely make sure that we get links to your group so anybody who's interested can join. And I, for me, that calls to me the natural solutions. I'm no Midwest Elevation, and all the folks here are no stranger to my anxiety and our collective anxiety. This is, and I joke about it, but it can be really, really uncomfortable for a lot of people in a lot of ways. And there are so many solutions out there, or ways in which to bring that back to center, right? And so obviously, I don't want you to give away all the amazing secrets and training that is going to be happening next week, because I want to take part. But if you could just give us a little hint as to what kinds of things we'll be able to get from that experience next week.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So, I started to say that, right. So with the pandemic, right, everybody getting anxious, right. And so the collective, consciousness was sort of inundated with anxiety. And so the first thing that I will do on Monday, right, at 1 o'clock, July 26th, is, to really normalize anxiety, right? I'll define it. I'll talk about it. Now, anxiety is a feeling, and anxiety, probably the opposite, I might say, is calm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, anxiety is an emotion. Anxiety sometimes doesn't have a reason for why we feel anxious.
Yes.
Which can add to the anxiety, right? I talk about anxiety, how anxiety can sort of snowball, and especially with our judgments and our criticisms and our thoughts, right? Our beliefs that we shouldn't be anxious, right?
Right.
We're spiritual women, or we're spiritual people. We should not be anxious, right? And what we resist persists.
Yep.
Right? So we don't want to resist anything. And anyways, I won't get into it. I can talk more about that. But
well, I think what you say there is key, is the judgments on top of it kind of just let make everything spiral, and it just kind of adds on to it. Yeah.
Right. And so we want to interrupt that spiral or that snowball, and take a breath. And I will teach some breaths. Right now, do we have time to teach a little breath?
Yeah, we could do a little breath work. That would be lovely.
All right. So I'd like to share a 3-part breath. And I know I'm a yoga instructor, but I'm also a psychotherapist. And from my psychotherapy, I realized a 3-part yogic breath is very difficult, because they ask you to start by taking a deep breath into your belly. But if you're feeling anxious, your breath gets very shallow. So it's very hard to start with your belly.
Thank you for acknowledging that.
Well, as I say, so I'm both, right?
Right.
And so what I find is, so we want to start taking an inhaling breath just by filling our upper lungs. So what I suggest people do is do the 3-part. You fill your upper lungs, and then your middle lungs, and then your lower lungs, right? So like our lungs go really down to the bottom of our rib cage, so almost to our belly buttons. So you want to fill the top, middle, and then the bottom of our lungs, and then empty the lungs from the bottom, middle, top. Okay. So should we try that?
Yeah, let's do it.
I suggest you inhale through the nose. Yeah, that we can. So that's the yogic way, for the Kundalini yoga way that we do sometimes breathe from the mouth. So inhale through the nose a little bit, and then a little more, and a little more, and empty from the bottom, middle, top.
Wow, that feels like I feel it getting stuck here.
Okay, so let's try that again, right? So start with the top, so just a little, even a little sniff, and a little more. Sort of even, you can even put your shoulders back. All right, then exhale, because I want you to pass out. That would not be good. But anyways, we actually do retain a lot of oxygen, and you're not going to pass out with a little suspension of your breath. But anyways, so let's try that again. So we'll inhale the top, exhale, push your shoulders back, expand your middle, and then the bottom. Allow your belly to come out. And then belly comes in with exhale, exhale, exhale.
Yeah. Oh, I feel it moving now. Like it just, oh, you exist down there.
Yes. Well, so, when we're afraid to feel something, we shorten our breath. Sometimes, like little kids will even stop their breath.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to feel this. I'm going to hold my breath, right? And that really locks the feeling into your body. Anyways, another topic. So let's try one more time.
Yeah.
Like nice, smooth 3-part breath, starting with the top, middle, bottom, bottom, middle, top.
Lovely. Thank you.
Welcome.
And it's so simple, and yet we forget.
Well, we all breathe, right? But in yoga, there's a whole practice. It's called pranayama, and it's a whole science and technology of breathing. So we have breaths to calm ourselves down. We have breaths to awaken energy. We have breaths to balance. We have all breaths to cool, breaths to warm. Just
that's amazing.
Have all kinds of breathing techniques that I will share in the free training, and certainly more if people keep working with me.
Yeah, I love that.
So I have a thing. So if you can control your breath, you can control your emotions, and you can control your life.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness.
It's very powerful.
It is very powerful.
Very powerful.
Well, what a beautiful place to end. If you can control your breath, you can control your emotions, and you can control your life, and really feel empowered to do so. Lakshmi, thank you so much for being here. What a beautiful time this has been together. I've learned so much. I cannot wait to get into that training next week, and I am going to head over and join your Spiritual Women Thriving Facebook group, because that's what I am, right? I don't want to be a spiritual woman who is drowning in anxiety. I want to thrive.
Right. Well, we want to do more than survive. We want to thrive. We want to awaken our bliss. We want to be blissful.
Yeah. Definitely.
So we're going to support each other to be that.
It sounds beautiful. Sounds so
Awesome.
beautiful.
So I invite everybody to do the same, right?
Yes.
Come
Yes.
over to the Spiritual Women Thriving Facebook page, and we'll support each other, and I will provide, breathing techniques, but all kinds of other things to help us manage our anxiety and awaken our bliss.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you,
here.
Renee. Thank you so much. This
You're
has been a
welcome.
real pleasure. The time flew. It
It
just,
did. It goes so quick here.
I could
So
talk to you
quick.
for hours.
I love it. I love it. All right, Midwest Elevation. If you are out there watching the replay, make sure you hashtag replay. Let us know what is landing for you, what feels good. And certainly click on that link and join us over in Spiritual Women Thriving. So much good stuff going on next week. And we will be back next Tuesday, the 27th, for the last Tuesday conversation. And then starting in August, we will be here on Mondays, 4:30 Central, 2:30 Pacific time. We will see you then. Thanks.